Hey y'all, my name is Alexa and this is the Real Life Alexa channel, and it is a bit of a throwback to long form videos. This book, Invisible Women, Data Bias in a World Designed for Men by, I don't know if it's Caroline or Carolyn Criado Perez. This book deserves more than 3 minutes, so we are doing a longer form video today. I want every person out there who has not done research on data bias and the ways that we automatically and without thinking discriminate against women to read this book. And I fully expect, if you do read this book, for you to feel some discomfort at some point throughout the whole entire book. This is not a comfortable topic. As a woman, it is so disheartening and infuriating to know how much stuff we do as women that is made harder because people are making decisions for us without having the data, where they are so blinded by their lack of the data that they don't even know they are missing the data. This is a topic that I've studied throughout my life. This is not something that I'm new to, and I still found pieces of this uncomfortable. Now, if you are a man, I would imagine that your discomfort reading this will likely be similar to my discomfort when I learn about, read about, study, and try to challenge myself on the hidden benefits of my skin color. I am not hindered by my skin color, and I didn't have to think about it growing up, right? It just wasn't a barrier. So to be able to sit in, or not even sit in, but to actively step into the discomfort of learning things like this, of learning about racism, of learning about various other isms out there. It's a skill, and we have to learn it, and we have to practice it, and we have to get better at normalizing being okay with discomfort on tough topics. If we do not normalize the discomfort that comes from reading something that makes us feel like we're being told we're doing something wrong from benefiting from a system that is unequal, we are never going to have the conversations, the real necessary conversations that are going to end up changing positively for everyone. So I'm sure most people have, at the very least, heard about the invisible work or the mental work that women do, which basically covers all of the housework, taking care of the children and taking care of all of the doctor's appointments and the laundry and scheduling this and that and the other. And even if they have a full-time job, when they come home, they're still doing most of the work. And that work, if you were to hire people, a cook, a maid, a chauffeur, all of those things and more, gardener, everything else, right? If you were to hire that, the amount of money that women should be paid for that work is pretty unbelievable. Okay, they are also the people who tend to take care of older relatives who need care in the house, or potentially younger relatives who are, for whatever reason, need care in the home, right? Healthcare. And yet there are countries, this absolutely disgusts me. There are governments who have quite literally said, we can save money. It's a costless thing to cut certain benefits, certain public programs, and whatnot. And the reason they're saying it's costless is because they do not acknowledge, maybe they don't even know that the hidden cost is in what the women now have to pick up at home. Now, the cynic in me says they don't care, that they just do not give a shit about women. Not really. Because if they did, they would understand that it is not costless. Now, you might be like, why should I care? Right? Doesn't affect me. If you understand the data that shows how much better everyone is when women have control over their own time to make decisions on where and when they want to spend that time, for example, becoming a much more active and consistent part of the workforce, which requires things like having childcare, which requires having flexible hours and things like that. If you understand the monetary benefit to businesses, and when businesses thrive, their workers do actually prosper more. When women are in the business, when they are included in the conversations, results get better and make people more money. When you understand that you will benefit from that, why would you not actively try to get them into the conversation? This book also talks about artificial intelligence and the LLMs, large language or language learning models or something like that, large language models, whatever the LLM stands for, and how they are so biased against women because they have been written by and for men who literally simply do not know about this information, about the information they are missing, because in their everyday life, it literally never comes up. When I was reading that, with the whole conversation going on about AI, with companies asking us to use it more, I've been asked to use it more. I've been told it's available. And I go in there, and the things I ask it to help me with are the things that it should be the easiest thing for it to help with. And yet I will get different answers. So I had a file open before the weekend, a couple weeks back. I left, my computer restarted. I opened it again. I asked the exact same question and I got a different answer. Okay. Now, I'm sure there's someone out there who's going to be like, well, you mustn't have done it the right way. You must have been a different question, this, that, and the other. Exact same questions. That needs to get better. Okay. When the studies are showing that these things are being trained on typical male data, when we understand that women and men are different in so many ways, not saying 100% either way, right? There's always outliers on either side, but just generally, we need to have the women's data in there for these learning language models to understand that more than 50% of the population is not being represented by what that stuff is bringing and spitting and regurgitating out. Women make up like 51% of the population of this planet. That's insane that this gap exists. This gap everywhere. We are talking from healthcare to public transport to AI to freaking stove development. Do you know they have tried to create stoves that are healthier and cheaper and affordable for low-income countries? And do you know what they didn't do? They didn't go and talk to the women who were going to use the stove. So they came up with a stove that meets all of the check boxes they wanted it to. Less carcinogens released into the air, safer, healthier, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what it did? It added hours every single day to the cooking responsibility of these women. So if I forget the exact hours, and I should have written down, but let's say they're working 16 hours a day on all of the various household things, the cooking, the cleaning, everything, the childcare, taking care of older relatives, all of it. This thing added something like 2 to 3 hours minimum every day. So they won't use it. So one person finally came along, a woman, because of course, finally they get a woman on the thing. And they said, well, did you ask them why they're not using it? They came up with a solution quite quickly that prevents adding those multiple hours a day to the women's work. Simple, effective. Ask the people who are going to use it what they need. Do not assume that you know, right? That should be the basic principle of any researcher. Who is going to use it? And have you asked them what is absolutely imperative to have? Like, if you do not have this, we will not bother using this. Instead, until this woman came along and actually asked that question, all of the reports were blaming these low-income women for not using this amazing product that was healthier for them. It's insane. Step into the discomfort and read this book. Once you've read it once, sit with it, think about it, and eventually read it again. And then when you've read it a second time, go ahead and read it a third time. And that time, take a highlighter and start highlighting stuff. I will be reading this again because there is so much information in here. I know I have missed a bunch of it. The government policies on things like rebuilding after Katrina. And there was something in one of the South American countries where they made these new houses and they forced all these women to move there. And there was literally no community. There was no sort of communal spaces where previously, where I think it was in the barrios, I think it was Brazil, where they were living, they had community where all the mothers could take care of each other's children and like really help each other, because it takes a community, it takes a village. These new housing estates completely destroyed that. They also were hours away from where these women used to work, and there was no reliable transportation, so these women lost all their jobs and got even more poor. It's mind-boggling, okay? It is mind-boggling, and I know it will be uncomfortable, but lean into the discomfort. Start reading this stuff and start understanding it. We as humans have the ability to continue learning throughout our entire life. And it is a choice not to. It is a choice to stay ignorant, to stay less intelligent. You can improve your intelligence. That is a truth. We all can, simply by studying and learning and staying curious. I will almost certainly be doing more videos on this book once I've read it again and pull out some of the other stuff that is just mind-boggling to me. I'm certainly wrestling with a lot of frustration and a lot of anger at stuff that is going on in the world right now that is so disgustingly anti-woman that it is very hard to want to come on here and talk about it when I really don't want to be on here just spewing anger. This book is not about emotion. This is not about feelings. This is facts. This is research study after research study after research study, and they cite them all. Am I going to go through and read every single study they cited? No, definitely not. 72 pages of them, kind of crazy. But I also understand where or which institutions are coordinating the reviews of the data that we do have and putting it into things like this. All right, I waffled for quite a while. if you made it this far, thank you. Definitely go pick this book up. Your library probably has it. I got it off Amazon because I knew I was going to want to graffiti it at some point with a highlighter. And know it's okay, right? You don't have to be an expert on this topic, but opening up our minds to this information will allow us to take small steps every day that can help get us all to a better place. Take care of yourself. I'll see you on the next one.